the back, and there are other things are going on, so we enjoy having them with us in worship. I did not know Oaks McGuffey could move quite like that, and he was getting it. It's probably the cowboy boots, I'm not sure, but I know it's not the DNA he gets from his grandfather. So maybe it's from the other grandfather. We'll have to ask Kevin if he dances. So I'm glad you guys are here today. We're going to have a great time. I realized last week I was so excited about getting into teaching about the spiritual gifts that many of you have taken the test for, and I've gotten those, and I appreciate that. And it's not too late. If you want to do that, we'd love to do that. And that's the reason I felt so, it's like I'm beginning to look at these, and I was like, man, this person has a spiritual gift of this and of this and of this. We should ask them to be involved in this ministry. We should, that's a good way, a practical way to take what spiritual gifts you have and then put them to work in the church. I recently met a person, and she's going through some difficult times, and she was talking about at the same time she and her husband are struggling, her pastor and his wife are struggling, and they go to a church of probably 400 people every Sunday, and so by us that seems like a big church. By other standards, it doesn't seem like a big church, but it's a large church. But she was saying how now that the pastor and his wife are separated, how it's impacting the church, and obviously it would. It don't matter what size church it was. But she said, he was the pastor, he was the minister of music, he was the minister of youth, he was everybody's best friend. And I thought, well, I may know what his problem was in his marriage, but I'm not called to be everything in the church. I'm just one part of the body. You are the other part of the body, and you are as important as I am. Now, the fact that God has laid the mantle of being the under-shepherd, the pastor shepherd here, I take that responsibility very seriously, but it's not like I'm important, the rest of y'all are not important. No, everybody's important. So if you have a spiritual gift, I want you to use it. But I was thinking today, the Lord gave me that analogy about if I was riding to work every day with three very, very intelligent people, even if I just paid attention, I would get something from that. And we have the one who created the universe, the Spirit of God was upon the water. He was there. He lives inside us. He was there as the earth was created. So we have that kind of wisdom source available to us. So we need to tap into it. But why is it that many churches, many denominations shy away from the spiritual gifts or the Holy Spirit in general? And there's a couple of reasons. I think one of them is a control issue. If we let the Holy Spirit have control, well, service may run way past noon, and we won't beat the Methodists to the fried chicken place, or and the other thing I think is anytime you open it up to spiritual things, what can happen? Well, abuses can happen. Sally and I, in our time here, we've had two different times, and I'll get to it a little bit later in the sermon, but we've had two different times when I know just something went crazy. But you know what? Sometimes you just step out in that, and you trust that the Holy Spirit is going to protect you. And that's today's spiritual gift, is the gift of discernment or discerning of spirits, and that's where we're going to go. But I wanted to... Capital One has a commercial right now. I love it. And the guy's sitting there at the restaurant, and all of a sudden he gets a text on his phone, and it says, "Did you mean to leave a 200% tip?" And then the girl is driving down the road, and she sees on this big billboard, "Did you know that your energy bill has gone up 25%? And then the girl is walking through Times Square, and she looks up at the ticker tape thing that shows when the trains are coming and going, and it says, "Did you make two identical purchases for, whatever, $79.99? And it's all about this, Capital One now, not that I'm advertising for them or credit cards, I'm just saying that's a cool system. They're kind of watching, going, "Hey, Mike, did you actually spend?" I mean, last year I had to get new credit cards because on Christmas Eve, I apparently went to Europe and tried to buy something. At the same time, I was in California buying something, all while I was nestled snug in my bed. So I'm glad they caught that, and that's a good thing. But that's kind of cool. But then there's another, I think it's an online medical website, and the guy's on the ladder, and he gets a text, and it says, we've scheduled you for the emergency room in 30 minutes. And then there's the lady sitting at home, and on her laptop pops up this, flu symptoms will appear in 3 hours. And it's like, wow, what if we had that? We have that. We have the Holy Spirit of God. We have the one who's already been to tomorrow and come back. We have the one who has created everything and has a wonderful plan for your life, and he's inside us. And sometimes it's like, well, I got this urge to do this or to go here, to think this or to do that, but I ignored it because I thought, well, that couldn't be the Lord. I'm just here to tell you, it could be the Lord. Not like the guy who told me, the Lord wants me to leave my wife and have an affair. No, that was not the Lord. That was not the Lord. So, here's what I got out of that. Okay, Mike, you're telling me that I have a spiritual gift of discernment, or last week, I have a spiritual gift of exhortation. So I need to control that spiritual gift. Have you figured out yet that the goal of the Holy Spirit is to control you, not for you to control Him? The gifts of the Spirit are there to help put controls in our life. The gifts of the Spirit are there to go, hey, you were going to go that way. Don't go that way. That's not my best. That's not what I have for you today. I want you to go over here. So it's control, but sometimes it's like, I don't, not many of us like being under somebody else's control. But what if we're under the control of the person who wants absolutely nothing but our best, and he can deliver? It's like, well, y'all know, I'll get to it eventually. So anyways, the other thing is the enemy will try to take your spiritual gifts and work it against you. He will. He can take exhortation and he can make it be where you begin to get puffed up because, I make so many people feel good. I will never forget the day that this guy was telling me what was going on in his life, and I was about to give him one of Mike's pearls of wisdom. I mean, come on. People pay big bucks for this. And I was about to go, and he goes, look, I don't want you to say anything really cool right now. I just need you to listen. Okay. I wasn't going to say anything. I was just clearing. No. So sometimes the enemy can take our spiritual gifts, and he can, like if you have the gift of discernment. Well, now I have the gift of discernment. I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of everybody. I fear everything. I hold up. I make sure everybody. I mean, the way you button your shirt, it's wrong. The enemy can come against us and can make us lose our joy by making us misuse that spiritual gift. So those were. That's what happens when you get out of the shower and you're thinking, okay, I don't want to pull my laptop back out. I'll just scribble it on a piece of notebook paper. So last week we began our study of spiritual gifting, and I wanted to tell you a story about two farmers. And the two farmers, they're standing out by the fence one day, and the first farmer says, hey, Joe, if you had 2 plow mules, would you give me one? He goes, oh, man, if I had 2 plow mules, I'd give you one. Well, Joe, if you had 2 milk cows, would you give me one? Now, if I had 2 milk cows, I'd give you one. Joe, if you had 2 wagon horses, would you give me one? Now, if I had 2 wagon horses, I'd give you one. Well, Joe, if you had 2 hogs, would you give me one? Now, I've got 2 hogs. Think about that. He's like, I'm generous with what I don't have, but now when I've got what I've got, I'm going to kind of protect that. I'm going to get all I can, sit on the can, poison the rest. Okay? That's the guy who married us is the one who made that famous. So here's the thing. Y'all know I play the lottery. I don't actually buy tickets, but I play my version of the lottery game, which is I see the amount and I think, how many people am I going to bless with this millions and millions? I promise you, I absolutely promise you, nothing would make me happier than right now to walk through here and hand each one of you $100,000. I really, really mean that. I would love to give, how many? That'd be awesome. What happened in your church today? Well, the pastor gave me $100,000. I think I'm going back next Sunday. But he may, of course, he probably wants me to tithe on it or something. But so there's a problem with this. I don't have $100,000 to give one of you, much less to give all of you. Here's the thing. I cannot give you something I don't possess. You cannot give somebody else something you don't possess. But who is giving out spiritual gifts? The one who possesses all of them. The Holy Spirit possesses all of these spiritual gifts, and he gives them generously. So, in doing some of this, one of the guys I listened to this week is, there's some pastors who say you can only have one or two spiritual gifts working in your life. There are some that say you can have all the spiritual gifts. There's some that say absolutely not, absolutely yes, absolutely no. Here's what I know. I have the Holy Spirit of God living inside me, and he has all the spiritual gifts inside me. And if I could learn to walk completely hand in hand with him 24/7, I would have every spiritual gift functioning in my life because it's inside. It's like, what did you bring today? I brought the Holy Spirit, which means I brought everything. The problem is nobody except Jesus has ever been able to walk hand in hand with the Father, hand in hand with the Spirit. So I'm just saying that, first of all, to say that's a good goal. But secondly, to say, even if I didn't score at all in evangelism. That doesn't mean that the one who is the great evangelizer doesn't live inside you. And every once in a while, you may go, boom, I was evangelistic. Man, the Holy Spirit came on me. And I don't normally have that gifting. But he has given you certain gifts. And so I want to talk about what the spiritual gifts are. How many of y'all go out at night and you look up at the stars? Okay, if you go out tonight, and I think it's going to be clear tonight, I'm not sure, but if you go out tonight, you're going to be able to look up and see the stars. But what if you had a telescope? You'd really be able to see the stars then, wouldn't you? Would you be able to see stars better, clearer, closer, sharper if you had a telescope? Sure. Okay, what if you wanted to look at something very small? I had a splinter in my hand the other day. When I put my magnifying glasses on, I could really see that thing. So we can all see small stuff, but when you have a microscope, you can see really small stuff. It makes it sharper, it makes it clearer, it makes it more obvious what it is. Well, what if you're listening to something? Now, I can, sometimes I can hear people's heartbeat. I just have to get really, really close, but I can hear. I have pretty good hearing. I'm the one who's going, what is that noise? And, come to find out it's Julia's alarm clock going off upstairs, but I hear that. But what if I had a stethoscope? What if you had a stethoscope? How much better would you be able to hear things? Well, then I had to ask Sally about this last one. This is an endoscope. This is what you do in endoscopic surgery, right? So, man, this would be awesome. When you have a spiritual gift, I could have gone a different way, but I went with this. So, when you have a spiritual gift, it means instead of just being able to see the stars like everybody else sees, he's given you a telescope. Instead of being able to see small, fine print like everybody else sees, you're able to really focus in on it. So, if you have a spiritual gift, you have a heightened ability in a particular area that every believer has, but you've got an advantage. You've got to step up on that on them. So that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to kind of go through where are the spiritual gifts located, depending on who. Spiritual gifts are a supernatural increase in the areas that every believer already operates in, but you have the advantage. You have that supernatural ability to see more, to hear more, to think more, to feel more, to experience more. So I want us to pause just for a minute. I want us to look at the gifts. Now, depending on who you talk to, where you go, what you study, there's everybody from, there are 9 spiritual gifts, and those are found in 1 Corinthians.